Well, good morning and hello to everybody who's watching. I am Martin Mostert and this is my 11 a.m. lockdown lecture where I look at the whole subject of mission and getting ready for being God's people in God's world when we can return to it. I hope that everyone is doing well, that there's a sense not only of concern, but of hope as we go through this and head towards a life that lies beyond coronavirus, that lies beyond COVID-19. Now, my subject today is looking at Genesis, the second part of looking at Genesis, and we're going to be picking it up where we left off. Let's just do a summary of what we've done so far. One's purpose, your purpose in life, my purpose in life is my mission. And mission is out-of-the-box Christianity. And my definition of mission, which I'm going to put up here, is God sending his people, through his people, to cross barriers between people, to bring about his purposes in the world. And we're going to see how that works its way out in the passages of Genesis that we're studying, Genesis chapters 1 to 3. And in summary, we saw that creation stories in Genesis show us a mission-shaped God, a God who has got certain things on his mind and certain intentions. He's intending for us to rule as human beings, to be in relationship with God and with each other and with the earth he created. And we pick it up with how those early chapters of Genesis show what human character is really like, which brings in a new dimension, new for that time, a new dimension to mission, the great human character flaw. Now, I've thought this way and that about how to define mission, and my definition is true values that emerge over time and under pressure. Sorry, character. Thank you, Leslie. Leslie's active in the background and helping me get through this. My definition of character is true values that emerge over time and under pressure. Sin disrupts all those relationships. Sin and the way we bring corruption to our world means that God's mission has been severely disrupted. Remember this picture, this image that we had yesterday of the God's mission being defined by caring, cooperation, comprehensiveness, compassion. Sadly, what results from the human character flaw is this. Instead of caring for our creation, we bring about unnecessary, unwarranted destruction. It's still using the same gifts of God, which is sad. The cooperation, the inventiveness, the ability to track down and find markets, and but it's gone hideously wrong. We might think that we're not involved in that, but sadly we are all at some point or another in rebellion against God, and generally the results are sad. And that needs to sober us and give us pause as we think of what mission involves. A very perceptive writer, Mercy Amba Oduyoye, I don't know if you've read any of her stuff, but she says the creation narrative underlines the fact that the universe belongs to God who created it, and that there is an interdependence of God's world and God's people. And the story is a challenge and a judgment on how we run the world in our day. So although we were mandated with this mission of care because of the brokenness of our relationships with everything that we were created to be in relationship with, we find ourselves falling short in so many ways. So, and a sin-broken world, I say that it's new, but really a sin-broken world is the only reality we know. We don't know any other world. And so that is mission's new reality, new from God's perspective. But I don't want to carry on for too long on that. I think many of us have got a good handle on what sin is, what it's done, how it works. I'd like to major on the next point, which is what the creation stories show us about God's character and who he is and how he differs from the other characters involved in this early part of the story of God's mission. Because Genesis shows us God's unchanging missional character. If character is revealed over time and under pressure, this is the time for God's character to show through. Many of the earliest creation stories in different cultures of the world show gods that are disdainful or disgusted. They show gods that are distant. They show gods that are disconnected with the world that has been created. Genesis shows us what sort of God we're dealing with, and that is very important for our understanding of who we are and how mission works. First of all, God gets involved. God gets his fingernails dirty. He has hands-on involvement. He hovers, he examines, he forms, he breathes. That's such an intimate expression, isn't it? He breathed life into humankind. He plants a garden. He walks with human beings. He's close by. He has a commitment to contact with his people. He is not far away from us. Paul says he is closer than breathing. And even though he knows the worst about us, God is compassionate. God doesn't dismiss us just because we have done wrong or are wrong. He provides, he prepares a place for humans to be. He takes the man. After people have rebelled against him, he clothes the people with animal skins. He gives them protection. He even gives protection to the first murderer. Very interesting stories in the first part of Genesis. Can't go everywhere there because we want to look at what this shows about God and God's mission. God understands. He knows people need companionship. He knows that they rebelled. You know, that classic scene of God calling out to Adam, Adam, Adam. And he sadly knows the result of sin. He can see what Adam and Eve cannot yet see, how death will invade the entire earth, the entire cosmos that human beings have been set to rule, and what the results of that will be. And the third point is extraordinary, because despite this great disappointment, if you can put it like that, God does not withdraw his mandate. People are still intended to care for the earth and the animals, to create, to cooperate, to have a comprehensive love of everything God does. There are new parameters, however, because of the breakdown of all these things. People's sin against God means that caring and creativity, concern for the whole of creation and cooperation, all will be impacted negatively. They'll either fall away and some things will be ignored or despised or set aside, or they'll be misused. Cooperation can be misused for terrible purposes, as we have experienced throughout history. Creativity can go towards making a scientific breakthrough that brings healing and wholeness to humanity, or it can be used to make a scientific breakthrough that brings some new poison or drug into circulation, some new way of killing, some new way of deceiving or defrauding. And caring can devolve into a bitter isolationism that only cares for what's close and actively uncares for anyone who's outside that inner core of acceptable people. But God trusts us nonetheless. He sends humanity out to fill the earth, to rule the earth. And so that continues. We haven't ever lost that mandate. It's never gone. It's never gone away. Although some of us have lost sight of it. Now here's a reflection. Maybe you would like to think about this or write 100 words on it. And I'm always happy to see your 100 words. If you'd like to send them to me, I'm happy to comment on them and interact with you. God is intimately involved with us. He's compassionate, he's trusting. So how should, for instance, human parenting reflect these three values? And maybe this can sound off or set off things and help you to see more clearly. How have you benefited or not benefited from caregivers in these ways? And how would you like to live out these values in your life? These are crucial questions that are suggested by this material. And we need to consider carefully, if we are created in the image of God, how are we reflecting the image of God? So, if God is sending his people through his people to cross barriers between people, here is how this, what we have studied today, would affect that. God is sending through creation and dispersion, because he sends people out of the garden. He's sending his people, that's Adam and Eve, and through them all humanity. He's sending through his people in imperfect cooperation, still sending, to cross barriers that That's barriers of wild and tame, barriers of between species and geographical barriers, as we've seen. Between people, division soon comes apparent. To bring about his purposes in the world. Let's pray. Loving Father and Provider, thank you for your infinite love for all the things you have created, and for your patience with us as humans, as imperfect rulers of the earth. Help us to humbly take up the mission you trust us with. Amen. Okay, we'll be moving on from these early chapters of Genesis to look at another very significant aspect of Genesis with regard to mission, and that is God's covenant relationship with people. And we'll be looking at that for a couple of days from tomorrow. In the meantime, God bless you all and stay soapy.